Guys, Indy here, and I'm going to call for video responses and comments down below for a question I've got. What is your opinion of what I'm going to call, I keep wanting to say asynchronous, asymmetrical player characters? So I'm talking about different levels, excuse me, in a level-based system. If it's a point-based system, maybe one character uses 200 points to make their character, another player uses 400. What are your thoughts on that? Now, organized play, they already have guidelines for this kind of stuff. So I'm really only interested in what do you think about it when it comes to at-home campaigns? Whether it's sandbox or you have a long arc that you're going through. What do you think about that? What do you think about characters starting at different power levels? I just had a discussion with my friend, and there's many things to consider. Like, okay, well, first, the most obvious one for combat people is how do you balance combat? And that presents some challenges, and some of that can be met with metagaming, and some of that can be met with well, I don't know if it's metagaming or not. If you do something like, well, the big strong thing is going to attack our big strong character in the party, or something like that, and try to stay away from the mage, the squishy little mage. But I'm kind of thinking more about, what do you think about it when it comes to story purposes? For instance, if you want to have a party that starts off as caravan guards, do you have a captain in that? That caravan guard squad should have some sort of leader. Now maybe that leader only starts 1 or 2 levels or some other small increment above the other characters. But maybe not. Maybe it's more than that. How a character progresses might also come into question here. If different classes or archetypes or whatever level at different speeds, that means that one of the players is going to level slower than the other. Well, maybe not one. It could always be the other way, right? Like maybe most of the people are an advanced level, and there's a minority in the player party composition that is a lesser level. Whatever. Player characters will be advancing at different rates. Now, in some ways, maybe that's an advantage, especially in a system where advancements come quicker earlier. Then that kind of helps the lower level catch up to the higher level. Maybe there's also questions of, especially in a kind of in that longer campaign level. What if you all started at the same level and you progressed relatively equal, and then somebody's player character dies? Do you start them at level 1, or do you start them as a mid-level character to be on par? What's driving me to ask this question and get your opinions on this is really more of a story setup kind of question. Like, I'm thinking about a campaign idea I had where the player characters are going to be composed of major group over here, which is led by someone, because I want a player character responsible for the metagame decision of including the one remaining player character to start the story and get it going. These are some of the tropes that start off adventures in movies and stories, that you kind of say, well, if you didn't do that, then this story wouldn't even exist. So, and then this other character being an experienced character, but not necessarily, say, in combat. So, level 5 merchant character or something like that. In that case, well, that's as equal as a level 1 fighter or less, depending on the system and stuff like that. So that's what's kind of driving me to ask your opinions on this. Because that's a campaign idea that's bubbling in my head. And how do you do this? Now, clearly, if you sit down with your players that are interested and pitch the idea and let them know, hey, all of you won't be starting at the same level, power level, whether that's levels or skill ranks or character creation points, whatever. And they're all fine with it. Well, then, obviously, great. No one's upset with that. Though it would still be useful to know if you have experienced some hazards to doing this, especially even if the players agree to such a concept. Are there things to look out for? Are there ways that this does detract from play? Are there ways that this detracts from the game in a meta way? Are there ways that this adds... What does this add to the GM's weight in running the game? Obviously, when it comes to combat, and you're either going to have to mess with the enemies a little bit more, or do some meta tactics in the combat. But I can see that. But is there something else that I'm not thinking of? So, what are the costs of doing this? What are the hazards to doing this? What's your just general opinion of having player characters start at different levels, especially if it's for the setup of a story? All right, this has gone long enough. Talk to you guys later. I look forward to your comments down below or your video responses, which please, if you make one, link them down below.